Hey guys, the real Randy Chavez here. I had to fight the fake one the last few days. Before I get started, I know I promise you guys new videos every day, and from now until the end of time, I promise I will let you guys know before I take a vacation where there's no Wi-Fi, or before, even if I'm out of the country. I go to Europe every year, and not this year because of COVID, but I have internet over there, so barring drug alcohol incidents, I'll let you know. But the last few days, unfortunately, something happened. I was held somewhere against my will. No cell phone, no internet, no nothing. So we're gonna have to go. This is gonna be like a 40-minute video because we have a couple days worth of data to go over. Let's start with a Gym Challenge pack, first edition. It was unweighed, sold for $200. Then we had a Misty's Tentacruel, first edition PSA 8, sold for $42. T18, the Typhlosion number 18, which is the more common, more easily graded, first edition PSA 9, sell for $700. There's a bunch of those, by the way. I was going over everything. We had a Misty, the trainer, first edition PSA 8, sell for $71. A 95 Japanese Top Sun Venusaur, PSA 9, sell for $120. And yeah, 1995 is the earliest any type of Pokemon cards came out. Those are them. So those are the oldest in the series. We had a Japanese Charizard from 1996. So this was the original Charizard in the Japanese set. Beckett 10. The only thing was a 9.5 on the centering. Everything else was a 10. This sold for $4,350. A Japanese Charizard again, but this time it was for the 1998 CD promo. PSA 10 sold for $271. Japanese Blastoise, same thing. 98 CD promo. PSA 10 sold for $127. Japanese Meiji, Meiji. I'd have one of those, an Arcanine. But this one is from 1998, and it was the picture of from Pokemon the first movie. It's Mewtwo and all his clones. 3 clones that the starters that are evolved form. Charizard, Venusaur, Blastoise. PSA 9 sold for $230. We had a Masaki promo, Omastar. For those who don't know, Masaki is something you had to trade in. Give a Nintendo or Pokemon a copy of like a letter, and then one of the 4 that you could only get by trading. The Golem, Gengar, Machamp, and Golem, Gengar, Machamp. Oh my God, what was the other one? Alakazam. And then outside of those 4, for whatever reason, maybe they foresaw Helix Fossil and his greatness because Omastar was number 5. So there's only 5 of them. There's a 4 that you can get by trading, and then Omastar. They're very, very rare. This one, Omastar, PSA 10. This sold for $1,132. We had a Japanese Rocket Grimer. So Grimer from the Rocket set, Dark Grimer, is in the English version, for the Team Rocket set, he's like looking up, there's a bunch of different people, and he's looking up like this way. But in the Japanese set, he's looking up he's looking up a girl's skirt, and it's one of those like old school, like, I don't want to say disgusting, it's a little disgusting, Japanese, just old man, just dirty jokes. It was a different time back then. They can get away with it, especially in Japan. In English, even at the time, maybe they could have, but they decided not to. 2 years later when they released in English, they decided, let's put his eyes away from the girl's skirt. So that's what they did. After that, we had a 98 vending card. From 1998 is a vending card. Uyama's Pikachu, Series 3, PSA 10, sold for $220. Blastoise base set, first edition PSA 9, sold for $3,100. A base set Charizard, first edition PSA 9, sold for $11,400. We had a Gyarados base set, first edition PSA 8, sold for $515. I remember when the 9s were that. We had a Charizard. It was a base set Charizard. It was unlimited. BGS 9 sold for $680. We had a base box. We had 2 base boxes. They were Blue Wing Charizard, so they had the chance to be shadowless. They could be shadowless. They could not be shadowless. We don't know. One sold for $8.7 grand. The other sold for $8.2 thousand. We had an Aerodactyl from the Fossil set, first edition PSA 10, sold for $685. Hitmonlee, first edition PSA 10 for $551. Ditto, first edition PSA 10, sold for $425. Hypno, first edition PSA 10, sold for $395. Dragonite, first edition PSA 10, sold for $2,477. Sorry, hiccups. I again, with being away, held against my will for a while, I had to go and get a 24 pack of Bud Light. I figured, let me do this video before I get too swifty. Outside of the Ditto, and the Hypno first edition PSA. Oh yeah, Dragonite Raichu first edition PSA 10 sold for $710. I think that's a record price point for the Fossil Raichu. These are all been Fossil, by the way. The last few. Next few also Haunter first edition PSA 10 sold for $565, and a Muck first edition PSA 10 sold for $275. So moving on to a passive Fossil set, a Shadowless Charizard PSA 7 sold for $880. We also had a BGS 9.5. The corners were a 9, but a Shadowless Charizard, BGS 9.5. Everything else was 9.5 except for the corners, which was a 9. So for $5,100. And a Shadowless Charizard SGC 10. S is in Sierra, G is in Golf, and C is in Charlie. 10 sold for $13,700. I don't know the SGC company. I don't know if they are... Generally, if you give a 10... it's got to be pretty stellar. So they put Gem Mint 10 on it, and it sold for, I'm guessing, what a Shadowless SGC 10 would sell for, a PSA, $13,700. Fantastic. I have a BGS 9. I wonder what that's worth right now. Probably $2,500, $3,000, something like that. Base Charmeleon. This is a Shadowless base Charmeleon. Normally I don't do these specifically Shadowless unless they're, Charizards, but it was signed by Arita. And it was just labeled as authentic. I would have given it, my grade would have been a 6. Sold for $152. I just put that in there because, signed. First edition, it was a pack, the base set pack, Blastoise artwork, PSA 9. This pack was rated PSA 9, sold for $1,625. And a pack with the Charizard first edition PSA 9, sold for $1,750. And we had a Shadowless Charizard pack, PSA 9. PSA 10 sold for $695. So the first edition PSA 9 Charizard pack sold for $1,750, $1,750, and the Shadowless Charizard pack PSA 10 sold for $695. Also had another Masaki promo. This is Gengar, but it was a PSA 8 sold for $406. And then we had a Pidgeot first edition PSA 10 sold for $1,525. All right, that was only page 1. 7.5 minutes in, we have page 2, and we have page 3. So we have a lot to go through. We have a Vaporeon first edition PSA 9, sold for $442. A Venomoth first edition PSA 7, sold for $52. And now we're going to move into, these are from the Jungle set. Continue with the Jungle set, but they're going to be no symbols. So there's, in the Jungle and Fossil set, unlike first edition, or unless base set had first edition, Shadowless, and Unlimited. For the most part, Jungle and Fossil just had first edition and Unlimited. But there are a couple of these guys in here in the Jungle set. I don't know if there's any in the Fossil set, but there's a bunch in the Jungle that just have no symbol. Like the symbol, all right, here's the first edition, here's the name, and this is where the symbol should be for what pack it represents. But the no symbol ones are error cards. They're very, very rare. It might even be rarer than the first edition. So we have a no symbol Electrode PSA 9, sold for $72. No symbol Flareon PSA 7, sold for $61. Sorry, going down. No symbol Flareon PSA 9, sold for $177. No symbol Jolteon PSA 9, sold for $275. No symbol Mr. Mime PSA 9 sold for $138. I don't know why I just said Mr. Mime like that. No symbol Nidoqueen PSA 9 sold for $102. No symbol Kangaskhan PSA 9 sold for $117. No symbol Pidgeot sold for $221 PSA 9. And a Pinsir no symbol PSA 9 sold for $86. No symbol Scyther PSA 9 sold for $155. No symbol Snorlax PSA 9 sold for $305. No symbol Victory Bell PSA 9 sold for $83. No symbol Vaporeon PSA 9 sold for $285. Another no symbol Pinsir PSA 9 sold for $202. I don't know why one sold for $86, one sold for $202. And then we had a 1999, it was a Topps card, Pokemon TV. So it wasn't the two ones made in 2000. They were like the hollow ones. This one was not hollow. But it was a Charizard PSA 10 sold for $301. and a Giovanni from Gym Challenge, just trainer, first edition PSA 10, hollow, sold for $335. We had another T18 first edition PSA 9, sold for $700. We had a Misty's Tentacruel first edition PSA 9, sold for $86. Erica, the trainer card, Gym Heroes, first edition PSA 10, sold for $565. This is where we got 2000 tops. It was the Chrome edition. That's what they're called. We had a Growlithe PSA 10, sold for $102, and an Arcanine PSA 10, sold for $202. Next one is a Dark Charmeleon, and it's the same artwork as a normal Dark Charmeleon in the first edition, but this was a game promo. And those that aren't familiar, the game promo, it has a gold stamp, like a W. It's the Wizards of the Coast W stamp. It's gold. PSA 6 got $76. So these are pretty rare. These are pretty sought after. A lot of people like this card. We have a 2001 Growlithe. It has the same artwork as base set, but it was from a Chikorita half deck, from 2001. The reason I followed it is because, I love Growlithe. I love the Growlithe and Arcanine artworks, no matter what it is. So even though it was the same artwork as base set, I just followed it. It only sold PSA 10, but you got it for $20. So again, it's the same artwork. It's just from a different set, and it's just, I think, rarer because it wasn't that sought after, especially at PSA 10. So you get that for $20. I think is a good deal. Probably not a lot. The only ones that would really be interested in that would really just be people that like myself, that like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to touch myself. It's just a little hot in this room. People that just like Arcanine and Growlithe in that evolution line, they'll probably be the ones to want to get it. Outside of that, I totally lost where we were. Okay, Entei. All right, we're going to Neo Rev right now. Entei first edition PSA 9 sold for $530. Raikou PSA 9 sold for $675. And Suicune PSA, all first edition, all PSA 9. Suicune got $760. So right now, doing some back of the napkin math, that is about, all right, so $1,290 plus $675, so that's $1,865, $1,965, all of them PSA 9. So if anyone has them for $2,000, all of them PSA 9, I would buy that right now, because that's only going to go up. And this guy Charizard, Andrew King Charizard, on like Instagram, he just got all of these first edition PSA 10. I don't know what that would be worth. I'd have to ask him. Oh, also this motherfucker, this King Charizard on Instagram, he's got amazing, beautiful cards. And I'd asked him, like, what does he have? Because after this weekend, I had a, long story short, a windfall of capital after everything was said and done. So I was ready, prepared, like, hey, that first edition for Alligator, PSA 10, number 5, I'll give you $5,000 for it. Already sold. And then I was like, okay, what about, your Blaine's Arcanine? First edition PSA 10. Because there's only like 129 copies. I have 5 of them. 4 are mine. 1 is in that whole package that I'll sell eventually. The whole full complete package. Said that's not for sale. The Charizard first edition, Blaine's Charizard first edition PSA 10. I would have given him $3,000 for it. He said he got a higher offer for $3,200. Couldn't do it for that. So I love that he's a real collector, is not in a rush to sell, has his convictions, probably going to wait the prices go up a little bit. And I wanted his Slowking from Neo Genesis. There's only 10 copies, first edition PSA 10. And figuring that would get a lower premium than the T17, the one that only has 10 copies, I would say, okay, I'll give him 7, I'll start off with 7. He might try with like 8.5, I'll go up to $8,000 for that card. Already has an offer in for 10. Whoosh. Fuck. Oh my goodness. That is, wow. People want these cards, man. People want these cards. So if you can get like someone that doesn't know about that deal and that has a Slowking first edition PSA 10 and be like, the last one sold for like years ago for like $500-800, and they'll be like, sell it for like, $4 or $5,000. If you can get that for $5,000, that is a steal. Even $8,000 now is a steal because $10,000 was what he was offered. He didn't even do it yet. He didn't even accept it. That still might be too little for him. Fuck. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting sidetracked. Skyridge Charizard, PSA 10. Sold for $8,000. I remember when that was like $2,300. And I'm not even like, I haven't been in this game for like, 10 years. No, this was like a few years ago. Like 1 to 2 years ago, that's what it sold for. It's $8,000 now. Jesus. And it's not just that. Like the fifth bid was 6,100, fourth bid was 6,500. Last three bids were 7.7, 7.9, 8 grand was the winning bid. Gold stars. We have it from EX Deoxys. Latias sold for $6.6 thousand PSA 10. Latios PSA 10 sold for $6,850. There's like 21, 24 cards of those each PSA 10, so they're very, very rare. And a Rayquaza PSA 10. The fourth bid was only $13,500. The third and fourth bid were both 15 grand each. Second bid was $19,000. The winning bid was $19,100. So this is not like the Rayquaza, from a few months ago that sold for like 24, 22 grand, whatever, 19 grand. So it's still a lot of money. And I still can't, I could, but I'm not going to get that. Some more gold stars. We had a Mew, PSA 7, sold for $297. And these are gold stars. And a PSA 8 sold for $470. And then a Celebi PSA 8 sold for $272. And then a Espeon gold star PSA 1 sell for $610. Fuck. Everyone loves that Espeon. So rare. So incredibly rare. Gym Challenge Victory Medals. All right, so the average, we had a couple of these sell for first place, sold for $190, average. Average for second place was $131. Average for third place was $108. So if we do some, again, back of the napkin math here, 221, 321, 429. So 429, for the full set, first, second, and third place, 429. So I have two of those sets. I'll probably put one up for like $500, see where it goes. Mario Pikachu, PSA 10, sold for $157. I love those cards. I have one Mario Pikachu and then two Mario Luigis. Those cards are just beautiful. It was a limited release. They're rare. They're crossover. They're anniversary. Beautiful cards. So much goes into that. I love those. All right, here we go. Rocket set. Dark Raichu, first edition PSA 8, sold for $78. Dark Slowbro, first edition PSA 9, sold for $134. Rainbow Energy, first edition PSA 9, sold for $100. All right, there was only like three of those. Dark Raichu set. So Gengar, fossil set, first edition PSA 9, sold for $162. Moltres, first edition 8.5, sold for $162. We had a, what the hell does that say? Mentor Beige, first 5? I'm just going to leave that out because I have no... Mewtwo, base set, first edition PSA 5, sold for $250. Blaine, the package, booster pack, Blaine artwork for Gym Challenge. First edition, and it was weighed light. So it weighed, there's no hollow in that. So for $163. Koga, laid white, weighed lightly, $155. Sabrina, $152. And another Blaine at $152. So these are weighed light, and that Blaine originally, the unweighed one sold for $200, and pretty much anyone unweighed sold for like $150 to $165. Dark Vileplume, first edition PSA 8, sold for $70. Lapras, first edition PSA 9, sold for $207. Ditto, first edition PSA 9, sold for $102. Pidgeot, first edition PSA 8, sold for $107. Kabutops, first edition PSA 9, sold for $142. Erica's Clefable, first edition PSA 9, sold for $91. Kingdra, first edition PSA 9, sold for $134. Hypno, first edition PSA 9, sold for $86. Rockets Hitmonchan, first edition PSA 9, sold for $177. Togetic, first edition PSA 9, sold for $121. I think that's the new record price point. Dark Golbat, first edition PSA 9, sold for $77. Nidoqueen, first edition PSA 8, sold for $85. I love Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen's just an awesome... I wish Giovanni's Nidoqueen and Gym Challenge would have gotten a holo, but the Nidoking got a holo, can't play favorites. Went through that. Aerodactyl, first edition PSA 9, pre-release, sold for $81. Ooh, I'm falling. Blaine's Arcanine, first edition, raw. My grade would have been 7 to an 8, sold for $280. Espeon Neo Discovery, first edition PSA 10, sold for $1,975. Nice. Zapdos base set, BGS 9.5, mostly. The corner's got a 10, but everything else is 9.5. Sold for $2,325. Incredible. Gyarados, Gold Star, PSA 10, sold for $6,595. Damn. Misty's Seadra, first edition PSA 9, sold for $99. Misty's Golduck, first edition PSA 9 from Gym Challenge, sold for $277. I knew that card was so undervalued at $130, still undervalued at $277. Dark Vileplume, first edition, PSA 9, sold for $67. Metal Energy, first edition PSA 8, sold for $30. That is stupid undervalued. Base set Charizard, first edition PSA 9, another one, sold for $11,000. Giovanni, first edition PSA 8, sold for $60. Clefairy, first edition PSA 9, base set, sold for $838. Base Magneton, first edition PSA 9, sold for $537. Base Ninetales, first edition PSA 9, sold for $910. Zapdos, base set, first edition PSA 9, sold for $815. Gyarados, base set, first edition PSA 9, sold for $1,261. Raichu, first edition PSA 9, sold for $1,126. Again, that's base set as well. Dark Weezing, first edition PSA 9, sold for $70. Ampharos, first edition PSA 9 from Neo Gen, sold for $170. Blossom, first edition PSA 9, sold for $103. We're on the third and final page, guys. We're close, almost done. These are incredible. One of them I'm going to sell. So for Alligator, first edition PSA 9, number 4, one that's more common, easier to grade, not as highly valued, sold for $400. I have one of those. I'm going to sell one of those. I'm going to list it for like $500 as soon as this is over. For Alligator, number 5, first edition PSA 9, sold for $545. Again, I think that's a $1,000 card. So I'm not going to sell that. I have 2 of them, not going to sell. Sorry, hiccups. Jumpluff, first edition PSA 9, sold for $79. And then another one sold for $85. A T18, first edition PSA 9. We have a bunch of these. $603 and another one for $570. Kingdra, first edition PSA 9, sold for $132. And a Lugia, first edition PSA 9, sold for $1,625. Damn! There's 41 PSA 10 copies. I don't know why the 9 are selling for whatever. Okay, you know what? I don't. It is what it is. Meganium, number 10. So the one that is most coveted, that is the harder one to grade, is rarer. First edition PSA 9, that got $390. Then the Meganium number 11, first edition PSA 9, sold for $380. So interesting. I thought the 10 would sell for a lot more, but whatever. Rocket Zapdos, first edition PSA 9, sold for $259. And then another one sold for $202. I think that's... $202 is undervalued, $259 is probably the right price. Koga, first edition PSA 9, sold for $113. Skarmory, first edition PSA 9, sold for $170. A bunch from the Neo set. Steelix, first edition PSA 9, sold for $129. Togetic, first edition PSA 9, sold for $122. And a Slowking, first edition PSA 9, sold for $575. That is still undervalued because that $10,000 offer for that 10 has not been accepted yet, so it could be higher. He might accept it. I'm not saying that's just, it's too low. He's just fielding offers right now. Again, I would have capped out at 8, but, Zapdos Fossil, first edition PSA 10, sold for $684. Lieutenant Surge, first edition PSA 10, sold for $1,175. Rocket's Mewtwo, first edition PSA 9, sold for $890. Zapdos base set, first edition PSA 9, sold for $743. Blaine's Charizard, first edition raw, I would have given it a 9. Sold for $1,125. Yeah, by the time they go and grade it and it comes back, it'll probably be worth more, so it's good. Brock's Ninetales first edition PSA 10 sold for $494. That is a record price point for that card, almost $500 now. And the PSA 9 version sold for $168. Magneton base set first edition PSA 8 sold for $265. Venusaur base set first edition PSA 9 sold for $2,348. Fuck. Dark Magneton first edition PSA 9 sold for $160. Dark Slowbro first edition PSA 10 sold for $315. Rocket Sneak Attack first edition PSA 10 sold for $108. Lieutenant Surge's Electabuzz first edition PSA 9 sold for $175. Moving along here, almost done. Dark Charizard first edition PSA 9 sold for $820. And Erica's Clefable first edition PSA 9 sold for $84. That Dark Charizard first edition PSA 9, that is flirting with that $1,000 price point. Where are we going here? Okay, so a Dark Blastoise. We had one sell for $315. We had another one where the fourth bid was $305, third bid was $345. That's fair. The top two bids, they both had good feedback. Like good, like they didn't have zero, they didn't have negative, they didn't have like one or two. They had multiple good sales go through because they had multiple feedback. And one was $800, one was $810. Dark Blastoise, first edition PSA 9. Record price point for the 9. Dark Hypno, first edition PSA 10, sold for $212 and again for $197. But Blaine's Charizard, this was unlimited. I know some people wanted me to include that. So Blaine's Charizard Unlimited PSA 9, sold for $375. This was not the corrected one. This still had the fighting, type energy on that. That makes a difference, I think. Lugia first edition PSA 8 sold for $740. Record price point for that 8. Brock first edition PSA 9 sold for $182. Yeah. It should probably be about $250, $300, but yeah, it's climbing. It's climbing like I said it would. Blaine's Arcanine first edition PSA 9 sold for $530. And then Blaine's Arcanine first edition PSA 10 sold for $1,400. That retraced a lot because we were seeing them sell for like 2.2, 2.4K. So whoever got that got it for a steal, super steal. Dark Alakazam first edition PSA 10 sold for $405. Ampharos first edition PSA 9 sold for $106. Misty's Gyarados first edition PSA 9 sold for $226. Jesus. I think there's a lot of Misty's Gyarados. There's like 220 of them. Giovanni's Gyarados has like 120. Again, the PSA 10. 220 PSA 10 for Misty's Gyarados. 120 PSA 10 for Giovanni's Gyarados. And again, give or take, 10, up or down. So the 9, I don't think should get 226 for Misty's Gyarados, but whatever. The people have spoken. Dark Dragonite first edition PSA 9 sold for $250. Another Blaine's Charizard first edition PSA 9 sold for $1,125. I'm just looking for the other Blaine's Charizard that I wrote down before, which, no, all right, whatever. And then a Shining Gyarados first edition PSA 9 got the same as Blaine's Charizard first edition PSA 9, sold for $1,125. Nice that a Shining, Blaine's Charizard is keeping up with the Shining Charizard, or Shining Gyarados, I should say. And then we had a Gym Challenge first edition pack, Blaine artwork, unweighed, another one sold for $205. That is it. Again, guys, I'm sorry for being away. Not my fault. I was literally nothing I could do. I mean, anyway, that is the last time I'll be away for that often. Again, I will tell you beforehand. I had so many emails and text messages to come back to as soon as I got the phone and everything. And, oh, my God. The eBay, I had a few offers for my eBay stuff. I couldn't accept. The offers expired. I did sell a Aerodactyl first edition fossil set raw. It's like it should get a 9 or a 10. I don't even know what I sold it for. I have to get that out tomorrow. All right, guys, I love you. Thank you so much for liking, subscribing, watching my content. It really does mean a lot. I was like thinking to myself, what the fuck am I going to do about YouTube? My guys expect this. So you guys are really my reason for keeping this up. You guys keep me grounded. I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, bye.